Hey, Joey Starr here. Welcome back to Starr Rock, where it's always about rock music.
I did the same old way. Sweet home, Chicago. Well, 6 and 3 is 9. 9 9's 18. Look at brother, baby, and say, "I see high hey. Hey, don't you wanna go?"
For this episode, I'm going to review how I prepare for band rehearsal each week. Every singer has their own version of what they do to prepare, and the variations range anywhere from a strict daily regimen of hardcore vocal training to not preparing at all and just kind of winging it every time they have to sing. Truth be told, none of those routines are wrong so long as you remain reliable to your bandmates, you are not damaging your vocal cords in the process, and are able to deliver the goods to your audiences on a consistent basis. A few of you have expressed an interest in what my routine is, so I'm going to show you what I do on the weeks that we don't have a show. If you're a new singer, or you're just looking for a new routine, you can certainly use this as a baseline, not a baseline, and tweak it as you deem necessary. You ultimately want to follow what works best for you, which will likely be different from the singer next to you, and will very likely evolve as your singing does. So last night was my most recent jam. I tend to put everything I can into it without blowing my voice. I mean, you can practice all you want at home, but you really can't cut loose the way you do when you're accompanied by a whole band. It's not just good exercise for my voice, it's good exercise for my body and my soul. I get to try out different things from a performance perspective that I may utilize in actual shows. And of course, it's a great social bonding exercise with my bandmates. We're kind of like family. So the first day after a rigorous rehearsal is dedicated to vocal rest and a mental recharge. The vocal rest is really important because your vocal cords are just like the other muscles in your body that need a chance to recover, heal, and strengthen from the workout that you gave it the previous night. The mental break allows me to focus on other projects, like my YouTube channels, and also makes it so that I return to the material fresh and ready to kill it. On the second day, I may or may not need to recover a little bit more, depending on how much I taxed my vocal cords the other night. Most of the time I don't need to, unless I'm learning a new song that pushes my vocal range a little bit, and we went over it like 20 or so times. And unless something like that happens, I'm usually good to just start building back up again. But most of the time, like today for example, I'm ready to go over my vocal skills at least one time, usually just once, because I am building back up from the last rehearsal or show. And speaking of last rehearsal, I tend to write myself notes during our practice sessions. These notes could be little things that I wanted to remember, like to review part of a song that I'm unsure of, some homework that the band agreed to have ready for the next rehearsal, some link that I promised to drop into our group chat, or even something from my grocery list I just happened to remember mid-song and I figured I'd forget later, so I just jotted it down real quick, knowing that when I get home I'm just gonna add it to my list. So this is the day that I'll review my notes usually. I'll take care of anything that could just be done quickly and make an action plan for anything that's left. Depending on the time that I have, I may even take on some of the smaller actions the same day. Otherwise, it's in the plan to be done before the end of the week. So let's see what we got here. Change batteries in the music stand light. I definitely would have forgotten that one if I didn't write it down. Review the second interlude on Burning Sky. Return Christine Scabia's phone call about a second date. Oh, whoops. I wasn't supposed to read that one out loud. No scales on day 3. Now, there's a few different schools of thought on this, and there are those that swear scales multiple times per day, every day, or else you suck. There's people that range from that extreme all the way down to who needs scales? I can just sing. And I fall somewhere in the middle. Now, again, this video is about how I prepare each week. This is what works for me. And again, it might be different for you, it might be different for your friend or somebody who sings better than me or sings worse than me. Whatever it is, this is about my routine. The way I've been taught and based on my experience works best for me is to keep a day in between scales. I find that if I rehearse scales every single day, I actually start to deteriorate a little bit, kind of lose quality. Now, if I was still 18 years old, that's a different story. When I was 18, my vocal cords were different. My vocal cords were younger and more flexible and stretchier like a rubber band. And if anything, I needed to practice those scales multiple times a day, every day, in order to pound that muscle into shape. It's different now. I mean, it's not that long ago, but Be surprised how quickly your voice evolves. So again, no scales today. It's day 3. I may sing along to something I'm listening to leisurely, but nothing strenuous. Basically, this day is for some of that homework that the band agreed upon to have ready for the next rehearsal, and any homework that I've given to myself, like parts of songs where while we were practicing, oh yeah, I gotta work on that bridge because my delivery wasn't good on this, or I forgot the word on that, or I didn't really capture what I wanted to capture in my performance of the song. This is accomplished at my computer, where I'm able to research, listen to audio, and break things down any way I need to. I have some audio editing software that I can use. I can just load something into there and slow it down, or pick it apart, or look at the waves to see where it matches up to the beats, that sort of thing. Whatever I need to figure out or practice, that's what gets determined and mapped out today. Now, what this usually looks like is basically me listening to the same song. Actually, listening to the same song repeatedly wouldn't be as bad. Listening to the same parts of a song repeatedly until I either beat it into here, or I listen and have the epiphany like, oh, that's what I need to do, or that's what's going on there. I may be listening to a recording of my band, Dr. Shadow, or I may be listening to an artist at Recovering. This may include listening to different versions, live versions, studio versions, remixes, to give me different perspectives of what's going on in the song. This will include me taking more notes, usually on here, because I'm usually making little footnotes to myself on my lyric sheet while I'm still learning the song, so that when I'm in rehearsal with my bandmates, I'm not wasting their time trying to learn the song. I'm there to practice the song. I've done my homework, and I'm not holding them up because, oh yeah, I gotta remember how this goes. No, I write myself these notes so that when it's crunch time, when we're rehearsing it, I look and say, oh yeah, I need to do this. Until I'm comfortable enough with the song where I don't need the lyric sheet, or at least don't need those notes. But today is really more about laying everything out so that I can fully tackle it tomorrow. Once again, if time allows, I may put a little extra focus on something that I think I can kind of resolve quickly, like within half an hour. Whatever time I have allotted to put into preparing for that day, if I have enough time, I may focus on, it might be like one line I'm having trouble with on a song. That's probably something I can just knock out today. Otherwise, it's slated for tomorrow. There are 2 important areas of focus for day 4 that literally start first thing in the morning. They are hydration and vocal strength. Now, it may surprise you to hear me say that of the 2, hydration is more important. Yes, and the reason why is that no matter how strong your vocal cords are, if you're all dried up, your vocal cords will lose their elasticity. It will not only make it harder for you to access your range, but it will also make them easier to damage, which will set you back a lot further. The most important thing to remember about hydration, and this is especially important for new singers to learn, is that it needs to be a multiple day process. If you've barely been drinking water all week and you just decide on the day before or the day of a gig or a rehearsal, you're going to be in for a bit of a disappointment. Now, if you're like me and you like to consume mass quantities of water as part of your regular diet and health routine, then you're already off to a good start. But I still spend a couple of days really keeping my body well hydrated. It's good for my vocal cords, good for my heart, good for my lungs, my energy, and endless other benefits that directly affect my singing. I cannot express enough how important it is for a singer to stay hydrated. If you walk away with just one thing from this video, as a singer, it should be to drink plenty of this as part of your regimen. Now, for building my vocal strength, I try to get my scales in twice on day 4. Once earlier in the day, after I've been awake for a few hours, so that the muscles aren't overly relaxed. Nay, 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 nay. And then I will hit them again, usually in the early evening, much harder. It's kind of a power workout. Thinking in terms of muscles in the body, hitting it twice today and harder the second time around, kind of the equivalent of adding more weight to your second and third sets if you're strength training to help build up that muscle, make yourself stronger. In between those 2 sets of scales on day 4, I'm also singing throughout the day at varying intensities. Whatever I have blaring on the stereo, I'm singing along to as I feel comfortable at any given moment. In between all the water and the singing, I am processing all the work that I laid out on the previous day, including lyric memorization, band homework, any kind of brainstorming and research that goes into learning new songs or tighten up songs that are in progress, or selecting new songs to possibly add to the set. Really, the whole day is about music. Read my lips. No scales today. The good phrase of today is short-term nutrition. You've heard the expression that you are what you eat? Well, what you eat the days leading up to your vocal performance plays a significant role in how well you sing. This is nearly as important as your hydration, and it even contributes to set hydration. What I do eat are water-rich foods like fruit and vegetables, lean meats, usually like chicken breast or fish, soups, and even water-based desserts like gelatin. What I try to avoid are foods that are going to dehydrate me, like fried foods, really greasy proteins, food that is high in salt or sodium, foods that are high in sugar, acidic foods, and of course, alcohol. Save the drink for after the gig, buddy. Also on this day, I try to wrap up whatever homework I had for this week, and I will practicing songs that I know that we are going to review at the upcoming rehearsal. More of the newer songs and maybe a couple of trouble spots on older songs. I said no scales today, but I didn't say vocal rest. I do practice singing today because it's important for strengthening the integrity of my chords, as well as reinforcing the melody lines that I've been working on all week. Vocal rest. You know what that means, right? No scales, damn it! Enough with the scales already. Stop yelling too while you're at it. I'm singing tomorrow, so there's no need to push it. No, no need to do that. I'll use this time for reviewing my lyrics and any final tweaking that doesn't involve me singing. Tomorrow's crunch time, so see you there. Throughout this day, I may touch on some light warm-up exercises like some lip trills or humming along to whatever I'm listening to. There's an extra focus on hydration, starting first thing in the morning. If I feel like I'm playing catch up with the hydration, I'll drink something with some electrolytes like Propel because it has no sugar in it. I kind of keep the food light, but coordinate my meals in such a way that I can have a fairly empty stomach by the time I start singing. But I am not starving myself because I do need my energy and I need to be able to sustain the singing for roughly 3 hours. That's important, to be well fed, but try to stop eating about 1 to 2 hours before I have to sing. On a rehearsal night, I will usually have a late lunch, or I'll have lunch at a regular time, but I'll have a decent sized snack a couple hours before I have to sing. I will save my dinner meal for after rehearsal, as a full stomach limits access to your diaphragm, which is where most of a singer's power comes from. Also of note is today is about 90 to 95% dairy free. The only exception in my case is that my first cup of coffee in the morning, I'll have a bit of cream in there, and then once I have that, that's it for dairy for the day. Now there's different schools of thought on that. I've heard contradicting information. It used to be that everybody thought, hey, if you're a singer, don't have any dairy because you got mucus on your vocal cords and la 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 la. But more studies have been done since that was the common thing to say. It's true, but not true. What I find is that on a normal day where I'm healthy, I'm not suffering from any allergies, I'm not coming down with something, I'm not saying I'm gonna sit there and eat a block of cheese. But if I have a sandwich and there's a slice of cheese in there, and a few hours later I'm singing, there's really no difference at all. However, if my allergies are acting up, which is pretty much from March to like, I don't know, November, I'll usually play it safe and approach it the way that I just explained to you. Quite honestly, even today, like today, I feel perfectly fine. I'm not feeling any allergies or anything. That could change between now and then. It probably won't, based on the forecast that I saw. But if I'm proceeding as if I should avoid the dairy and none of that stuff is going on, there's no harm, no foul. I'm good either way. However, if I'm wrong and I drink, I don't know, a couple glasses of milk, which I'm not gonna do anyway, but I don't like milk that much. But if I drink a couple glasses of milk and then it's time to sing and I got a little bit of a tickle there going or a little bit of a going, well, you know, I kind of asked for it, didn't I? So just erring on the side of caution. Remember, your body is your instrument. As a singer, people who don't really know, they just think everything's right here. That's not true. That's a small, it's the most important piece, but it's a small piece of the bigger equation. This whole thing, baby, is important. Whenever possible, I try to get in a nap no later than, say, 4 hours before having to sing. If rehearsal or a gig falls on a work day, which it usually does, I'll get a power nap in on my lunch break. It might sound corny, but having that little power nap makes all the difference in the world when it's time to sing. Alright, so I'm heading to rehearsal now. On the drive over, I'll actually run through my lip trills and some of that humming one last time so that I'm nice and warmed up and ready to rock when I get there. Now, as they say at that crepe shop, it's go time! Alright, so rehearsal's over. Went and did my thing. I think you saw a clip there. And now I'm back home. And my reward for being a good boy the last few days, particularly with the food, is it's after rehearsal. I'm going to eat whatever the I want. That's what it boils down to. So in this case, I'm making myself a couple of Wagyu beef cheeseburgers. Yeah, baby. Also, coming home from rehearsal, in addition to cooking whatever the hell I want, I get to spend time with this little cutie right here. That's my rock and roll dog. So she waited for hours for me to come back from rehearsal so she can play with me. Isn't that right, Sammy? That's really it. That's my weekly routine. On the weeks where I don't have a gig, it's just a rehearsal week. That's pretty much the routine there. Any other questions about this, feel free to shoot me an email. That's in the description below, or make a comment. Either way, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and stalk. Laters.
You can run, tell my friend with the brown.